The River Cafe is a famous London restaurant where chefs like Jamie Oliver and Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall got their starts. The chocolate Nemesis cake is something they're famous for. Here's my take on it. Flourless chocolate cake land. Grab yourself an induction burner or a stovetop if you have one of those, and add some water to your pan. We're gonna make a double boiler here. We're gonna melt down some chocolate using our India Anamalai, a nice fruity chocolate that really elevates something like this. At 70%, it's a nice blend of just sweet enough to beat off the bitter, but also enough to highlight the cacao and not let it be dominated by anything else. Bring your water to a boil over a high heat and place a large bowl. We're gonna add our butter and our chocolate and slowly melt this down. By using a double boiler, you provide a gentle heat, ensuring it's never gonna get over the boiling point of water at sea level, 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius. Smooth that out and pull it off and set it aside. For this recipe, we're gonna make a simple syrup to help stabilize our chocolate butter combination. Measure out some water and some sugar. We're gonna put this over a medium-low heat and boil it for just a couple minutes to start to thicken. Once we add it to the mix, it's gonna help it make sure it doesn't split, especially while we have it set aside while we work on other components. A simple flourless cake like this has only a few ingredients, so how you treat each one makes a huge difference in the final outcome. So, ensuring each one is treated as well as possible will make a huge difference in the end. Beat in that simple syrup to your mixture until it looks homogenized, and we can go ahead and set it aside once again. Let's prep our pan. Grab a sheet of parchment paper, some butter, and a pair of scissors. We're gonna butter our pan thoroughly, just trying to make sure you don't miss anything, especially that edge. That is the killer. We're gonna take our square and start folding it up into triangles over each other, just like you're making one of those quintessential holiday decorations, maybe a snowflake or something like that. Check the middle and give this a slight arc on the cut to make it as circular as possible. Fit it into the bottom of the cake pan and smooth it out to reduce the wrinklage. Wrinklage? Is that a word? You know what I mean. It makes sense. Grab Mr. Stand Mixer with your whisk attachment and hook it up. If there was ever one task you want a stand mixer for, it's beating air into whole eggs. This can be done with hand beaters, but it's gonna take like double or triple the amount of time that it would in a stand mixer. It could be done by hand if you've got a couple hours to spare and some serious strength too. In goes eggs, sugar, a little salt. Always important. The goal here is to quadruple this mixture. It's gonna take a good 10-15 minutes or so, and on high heat, off to the races, bring it up. Also known as ribbon stage, when you're whipping whole eggs, when you pick it up, you should have a nice ribbon of just continuous falling. That's pretty continuous. It's so pretty. For some reason, doing stuff with whole eggs is more magical than egg whites for me. It's just like alchemy. Mix in your chocolate and give it a final scrape of the bowl before you put it in your prepared cake tin. There's nothing like watching something like this fold itself in. It's just so luscious. You can tell that it's gonna be awesome on the outside of the oven as well. Scrape your bowl, and we're gonna give this a few knocks to try to get as much air out as possible. No need to go crazy with this, just get the big ones out. Into our baking dish, we're gonna put a folded tea towel. This will help it not bump around as it possibly floats around in the water, which it will. We're gonna fill this up to about 3/4 the height of the cake pan, and it'll just start to move around, but as the water evaporates in the oven, it won't be floating by the end of it. We're gonna put our oven at 250 Fahrenheit for an hour on this guy. When it looks dry on top, we're gonna take it out and prod it a little more. Once the cake is just set, you can tell by touching it that it's got a skin, and if you pull slightly, it comes away from the sides. That's an indication that we're ready for the cooling process to begin. This takes a few hours, so go do something else. Just leave it to slowly come to room temp. Once the water feels cool and the bottom of the cake pan feels cool, we're ready to move on to decoration. We're gonna do a mix of cream, sour cream, confectioner's sugar, and a little bit of salt for the topping. Gonna whip this up into stiff peaks, or as stiff as it can get, really. Sour cream is gonna fight us on this, but we're gonna persevere because we have a stand mixer and it will win eventually. I don't even think this would turn into butter. Frankly, I did it for like 10, 15 minutes, just like the other one, and it never dried out to the point I thought it would. But for the topping like this, it's just fine. It only needs to be there for a second anyways. Go ahead and run your knife around the edge really thoroughly to dislodge this cake. A little chill in the fridge might help, 15 minutes or so if you're having trouble getting this out, or a heat gun, or anything you can figure out. Okay, I over-chilled mine. I had to use a heat gun to get it out. Then I had to smooth it out with an offset spatula. That happened. That happened. It's okay. Okay. Let's make some nice slices here. It's gonna be a little sticky. It's gonna wanna cling to the knife. So in between each one, go ahead and use a towel to get as much of the chocolate cake off as possible. Folding the tip of this, we're gonna use a pedal attachment on our piping bag. Put it down into a container to make your life so much easier than holding it like a Neanderthal. Nothing wrong with Neanderthals, but they might have done it the other way. Or who knows, maybe they would have done it this way and Homo sapiens the other. I'm gonna practice this design before I do it because it's always nice to have a bit of a rough draft before you go into a can't take it off kind of place, aka a cake. So get one of these guys out with an offset spatula and make a nice swirl pattern or whatever floats your boat on top. This is just what I wanted to do. I'm doing each slice individually so I can put them back and slowly create a beautiful pattern with them all out on their own. Just starting to weep. Very pretty. Whoa. I mean, it's like velvet, and then you have this lovely sour top. Really good. I mean, crazy good. Holy crap. You can see why it's been on the menu at the River Cafe for ages. With the addition of sour cream in place of creme fraiche, a little bit of salt here and there, using the India Anamalai chocolate with the fruity backbone coming through so well. This cake is just a major celebration of chocolate. I'm gonna celebrate it some more. Woo! It's a famous Italian restaurant. This cake, Damon Lundis